Good evening and welcome to tonight's driver's ed class. So you know the routine. Time to sign in. Let me know that you're here. Hopefully we will have no glitches with videos as we did last night. I'm trying to figure out this program a little bit more thoroughly. I guess there are different ways to go in and change the streaming quality, but haven't been able to figure it out quite yet. So we've got a lot to cover tonight. I'm going to wait for most people to sign in before we get going. I want people to start thinking about what they have available for Saturday for drive time, so we can get that scheduled, and we'll take a look at next week. We'll probably do a lot of the scheduling for Saturday tomorrow. I'm really disappointed in a lot of you. I asked you to bring textbooks to the high school to hand them in to me in the school lobby today. Right after school, and I only had a handful, which was very disappointing. I have a ton of students showing up tomorrow. I hope I have enough textbooks to hand out to the new students that will be in the next class. So you're going to have to contact me and let me know when you're going to give me the textbook. Okay, preferably tomorrow. Just come by. I'll be out in the lobby again. But this time I'm going to be handing out material. So, don't leave it with the office quite yet. You got to give it to me. I want to make sure that you're giving back the manual and the state manual and not the state manual, the textbook in good shape. And I know that some of you still probably have some type of work to do still outstanding, but you're going to have to do that from the Facebook page. I'll put some of the chapters that you haven't read that you'll have to download and have to do it on your phone or on your laptop, so you're no longer going to have the textbook to use. But that's your problem because you did not do the work when you were supposed to, and here we are at the end of the program and you are behind. We've got a lot of information to go over tonight because we're going to finish up on insurance, and then we're going to dive into highway driving and then sharing the roads with tractor trailer trucks, motorcycles, and pedestrians. The last thing that we saw last night was a video that was given to me by a insurance agent from Liberty Mutual. And I thought they did a very good job breaking down the different components to an insurance policy. Now, last night's class, we talked about a car crash and giving out information, sending it to the state if it's over $1,000 within 15 days, how to exchange information with the other person and things like that. So now we're going to really kind of focus in on what happens with insurance, who pays for what insurance is really the type of insurance I should be having on my policy. Can I alleviate portions of my insurance policy and still have a decent policy? So that's what we're going to get into right now. So take out your notes because some of these questions will come up, or some of the terminology will be coming up. I can't answer that right now, Andrew, at 4 o'clock. I'm going to have to answer that later. There are three terms that I want you to write down in your notes. The first one I want you to write down is understand the word policy. Insurance is based on coverages and stipulations that your insurance company will pay for certain items on your vehicle or certain aspects of your vehicle if they're damaged. But if something is not listed, if something is not included in the policy, then it's exempt. So don't think just because you have insurance that they pay for everything that ever can happen to you in a car. That's not the case. So you need to understand your policy has many pages. This is why you need to go through it with an agent. They'll explain it. This is why your parents are probably doing this now and they probably don't get you involved. But I think it's important for you to understand that it is a legal contract between you and an insurance company. So once you sign it and they sign it and you pay your premium, that's the next term I want you to write down, the amount of money that you pay for your insurance policy, that it becomes binding. They have to uphold their end. You have to uphold yours, meaning that you have to make payment for it. And the reason why I put down is different pay schedules is that a lot of times people get, freaked out when they hear my insurance policy is costing me, $1,500. Well, if you had to pay it all up front, that's a lot of money. But if someone told you, could you pay $120, $130 a month? And you go, yeah, I've got a part-time job. I make about $60 a week. Yeah, I could probably do that. So you start saving and putting away that $120, $130 that you need to pay every month for your premium. So a premium is the amount of money that you pay for your insurance policy. Now, here's a term that most of you probably aren't familiar with that you should understand and know. It's called deductible. Deductible is the amount of money that you pay for each crash before the insurance company kicks in and pays for the remaining cost of repair. And you're thinking, well, wait a minute here. I just paid $1,500 for an insurance policy, and you're telling me I have to pay more money once I get into my first crash? Yes, that is how insurance is based. It's based upon deductibles. That way they're keeping the insurance supposedly as low as they possibly can. This is what I want you to write down, and this is what I want you to remember. And ask your parents this. I will guarantee if you were to take a minute away from this conversation after I tell you this and go ask your parents, if they're close by, ask your parents, what is the deductible on our insurance policy? If they're paying $250 or $500, they could save money if they put into practice what I'm going to tell you. So this is what I want you to write down. The higher the deductible, the lower your premium. So let's make it super simple. Your premium is going to be $1,200. So if we break that up monthly, it's about $100 a month. But your deductible is $250. So that means in your first, let's say that you hit the driver's ed car, and I told you that my repair to my car was over $3,000. So you've got a $250 deductible. You have to pay that now. The insurance company now they'll pay, roughly $3,000 because mine was $3,300, $3,400. So you pay $250, they pay the other $3, but you only paid $1,200 for your insurance policy. That's a pretty good deal. Now, there's a lot of people that buy insurance and they never use it the entire year. So the money that they're paying goes for other people. So when you have your crash and it's maybe $10,000, $15,000, there's money in the insurance company coffers that they'll be able to pay for the damages. So what I want you to ask your parents, if they're paying $250 to $500, if they went up to a high deductible, like $750 or $1,000, my wife and I always go with $1,000 deductible. We want the lowest premium possible because we never make a claim. My wife and I have never in our car have had a crash, and we've been married for over 30 years. So we think it's more important to pay a low premium rather than a low deductible. So if your deductible is low, your premium is high. If your deductible is high, your premium is low. So I know that's kind of confusing. This is a basic insurance policy in New Hampshire. I'm not going to get into this too much. If the state requires you to have insurance, they want you to have $25,000 insured for injury or death to one person, $50,000 if there's more than one person in the car, and then $25,000 coverage for damage to property. The common insurance policy may look like if you replace these numbers with 100, 350 in those three spots, that's more of a roundabout average insurance policy. Now, remember, you get to shop the number that you want. So if you want those numbers to be higher, You can ask for those numbers to be higher. If you want those numbers to be lower, they can be lower. So in your notes, you basically dictate the type of coverage that you want. Now, most of the time, an insurance agent will give you good advice and basically tell you what a good policy would look like. But you could still ask them, it's a little bit too much money. Can we kind of tweak it a little bit? And he should be able to work with you and lower your insurance rates. Now, I'm going to go over this super fast. I only want you to write down the top bullet. Now, the bullet is that first dot. Okay, an insurance policy is basically made into like 6 or 7 categories. The most important category, this is what I want you to write down and remember for the final. Liability insurance is the most important type of insurance that you can have because it protects the other person. That's all I want you to write down. Liability insurance is the most important. You have about 6 or 7 subcategories. So this would be your first subcategory. This is the most important. This is going to protect you from being sued. So when you hit somebody and they're injured, or if someone dies, or if they lose time from work, it pays for their car. It pays for everything dealing with the other person. That's all I want you to write down and know. The next thing I want you to write down, the next 2 components to an insurance policy. Number 2 would be collision. 3 would be comprehensive. And I kind of clumped them together because this is what you're doing to your vehicle. So a collision, just what it is, that means you're going too fast around a corner, you hit a tree. Isn't that kind of strange? You're the one that caused the crash. You're driving too fast, and your insurance company is going to help you get your car repaired or give you a new car or money for a new car. Might not be a brand new car. Comprehensive deals more with something that you didn't do, but last night we talked about driving in hail. You just happened to be out on the road and the storm came and it cracked your window. That could be like a $500 to $1,000 repair. Okay, your insurance company is going to pay for it after you pay your deductible. But you're probably thinking, you said $500 repair, but wonder if I have a $1,000 deductible. Well, you're not going to make the claim. You're just going to pay for it out of pocket because you would be making payment to the insurance company on your deductible. So you don't even bother with the insurance with something like that. And usually, and this was all of my kids, I should say, have old driver's ed vehicles at one point in their life. When I get rid of my driver's ed car, I don't resell it. I just gift it to one of my kids. Once they have it, we still have to have liability insurance on it, but I make sure that I drop comprehensive because the car is so scratched up and beat up that anything that happens on the outside, we really don't care what it looks like. We just want to make sure that it's functional and that it drives well. Personal injury is basically medical insurance, and usually on your insurance, car insurance, it's relatively low. It's going to cover maybe $5,000 to $10,000. It's usually an ambulance ride, emergency room visit, or some minor care at the hospital. But usually, if you have good medical insurance, you probably don't need this on your insurance policy. And the other thing I want you to remember, I said that these are components. So if you were to take this component away from your policy, and we said it was $1,200, you might have just saved yourself $200. Think about that. You just saved $200 by telling the insurance agent, can you take the personal injury off? I've got good medical. I don't think I really need this because it seems to be overlapping. So you've saved yourself some money. Okay? Roadside assistance, I have AAA, so I never have this on my policy. I never do rental reimbursement. And these are small fees that you would have to pay on your insurance policy, maybe $50, $75 a year. But I have AAA, so I don't need it. I have another driver's ed car. I have a personal car. I have a truck, so I don't care about a rental. This last one is really important. A lot of states like Massachusetts, you can write this down in your notes. Massachusetts requires you to have insurance and proof of insurance when you drive. So in your notes, I want you to write down, you should have your insurance card in your glove compartment. Now, part of the homework that I gave you, if you went to Facebook, was to download that crash report basically the information from your insurance company. I asked you to find out from your parents. Who do you have for a company? Who's your agent? I didn't care about the policy number. I wanted a phone number. You need to realize that there are a lot of people in other states that don't have insurance. So when they hit you, you can't claim from their insurance policy because they don't have one. You're going to have to legally sue them to get money. And I will tell you, most people that don't have insurance don't have a lot of money. That's why they don't have insurance. So you're going to be suing somebody for, like, let's say $15,000 that doesn't have $15,000. So you're probably never going to get it. So having this type of component on your insurance policy is going to help you get your car fixed and take care of it on your end. All right. So most states require you to have an uninsured motorist liability coverage, and they want you to have your insurance card in your glove compartment. So everybody should do that. I just want to just talk briefly that once you get your driver's license and you're driving your parents' car, even though you've got a good friend that you trust wholeheartedly, you love your boyfriend, you love your girlfriend, but when you give them the car keys to go downtown to get a couple drinks or a sub or something like that, if they're involved in a crash, it's not their insurance that's going to pay for damages if they hit somebody. It's your parents, because it's that car. So be very careful who you let use your vehicle. Okay. Now they can use it, but you've got to remember, it's not like you're going to say, well, that's your problem. You're driving my mom's car. Now you're going to have to pay for it. It doesn't work that way. So you can see right underneath the picture, it says a common myth is that if your friend is borrowing your car and has insurance, then it's your friend's insurance policy that covers that damage. And that is not true. A couple other things I want you to think about with insurance. Just because of your gender does have some bearing on insurance. And take a look. I didn't number how many we have here, but I'm guessing just from the top, it looks like we probably have about 12. What I want you to take away from this is that the more you shop your insurance policy, the lower your rates are going to be. Look at Liberty Mutual. They're high. I had Liberty Mutual for a while until I put my oldest on it, and then it kicked up really high like this, and I took him off, and we saved over $600 by going to a different company. So make sure when you talk to your parents, when you get your license, ask your parents, how long have we had, insurance with Allstate? I will tell you, matter of fact, that if you've been with a company for at least 2 to 3 to 4 years, if you go to a different company, I'll guarantee you'll probably find a much lower rate for the same policy, because another company wants your business. And if you stay with that company year after year after year, you're going to see it starts bumping up little by little by little. So a smart consumer will always shop their insurance every 2 or 3 years. And they will call at least 3 different companies. And now with the internet, we don't even have to call. We can basically just put information, and we can find online what it's going to cost us. Other things you can do, I already mentioned shopping it around. Don't carry collision, comprehensive we talked about. We talked about deductible. Taking any type of defensive driving course, the winter course, will help reduce insurance. Good grades, write that down. It's important for you to realize that if you have a B average or a certain GPA or going to graduate in a certain percentile of your class, most insurance companies will give you about the 10 to 15% discount. So when you're talking about $1,500 to $2,000, you're talking $300. That's a good amount of change. So do that. Pay bills on time. Go on your parents' policy. Think about the car that you're going to be driving, because it's based upon resale value, what it's going to cost to get repaired, and basically, do thieves like to steal it? Because a lot of times people think cars are stolen because people want a car to drive. But most people that steal cars aren't looking to drive cars, because, of course, you can't register it because it's going to come up as stolen. So what most thieves do is they steal cars that they can make a lot of money off the parts. You can get a ton of money by selling tires, catalytic converters, alternators, batteries, tires that are decent shape. So they're not stealing your car just to drive around for the next 3 or 4 hours. Usually, they're taking it someplace and stripping it down and selling the parts. So insurance companies know cars that thieves are looking for. So that's kind of a brief overview of insurance. So if you've got any questions, feel free to ask me when you drive next. I'll try to answer it the best that I can. So I just kind of gave you just a tasting, and an overview of what insurance is. And just write this down in your notes. And I mean this. Talk to your parents about insurance now, because it's going to be a shock. If you thought driver's ed is expensive, wait till you find out how much putting a child on an insurance policy is going to be. Your parents are going, maybe they're going to make you get a job. So get your license first and then let them kind of worry about the insurance. All right, so that's insurance. Let's get to driving on the highway. And like I said, we're going to kind of go through things a little bit quick. So when we talk about driving on the highway, okay, there are many roads that are constitute as a highway. And if you look, or if you did your reading in your manual, state manual, they basically gave 5 different terms: interstates, toll roads, thoroughways, turnpikes, freeways. These are all classified as highways because of the speed that you're traveling. And you're going to be limited on when you can get onto these roads. They're very limited, and we're going to talk about that term a little bit later. The other thing I want you to write down in your notes, another 3 ways that they can differentiate themselves is the speed that you travel. Some of them are very fast, 65, 70. Some have 2 lanes. Some could have 4 or 5 lanes or up to 6 lanes. And then some of them will cost you money to travel on, or they'll be free. And I think that's important to know, whether you're going to have to pay money when you go on some of these roadways. So one of the main reasons why we have built roadways that are so many lanes is because we want the highest volume of traffic to get to where they're going safely, and we want to get them there quickly. But the problem is that we're getting more people where our population is growing, and the road width is not expanding without some type of changing of engineering and road conditions. So there's a bottleneck at most places. So the problem is that the roads are getting very, very crowded. And when you drive on these crowded roads, because there are so many cars going faster, they're following too close, they're way above speeds that they should be traveling. The problem for a driver is that you've got to think quicker and react faster to what is happening in front of you. So there aren't a lot of crashes every day on a highway, but when we do have one, it's a doozy. I mean, it's going to be violent. It's going to total a car. We're talking injury, and we're probably, in some cases, talking death. Okay, even though we know cars are going in the same direction most of the time on these roadways, every once in a while they may cross over the median, they may cross over the guardrail, flip over. So if anything bad happens, it's probably pretty bad. Here's the term that I want you to write down: controlled access, limited access. They mean on-ramps and off-ramps. So that's what I was saying earlier about the 5 different terms for highways. Route 4 is kind of what I call a hybrid highway, because there's a traffic light in Durham at that intersection. There are houses near the Lee Circle and down towards Madbury. Before we cross over the bridge, there's neighborhoods. So most highways don't have that kind of situation. You get on, you get off, and there's nothing else on the roadway. You may find rest areas in the middle. When you go to different states, a lot of times they don't put rest areas off to the side. They put them in the middle. So you may encounter things like that. But for the most part, once you're on, you're on. The other thing I want you to write down is that all highways will have off-ramps. And at off-ramps, we call that interchange, meaning that you are going from one road, like Interstate 95, to the Spalding Turnpike. So it's a diversion, either going below or going above, or sometimes, just blending off to the right or blending off to the left, where two highways will meet at different points or different levels. Mile markers, I want you to be familiar with. On every single highway, if you look off to the side, there are green mile markers that are marked off by 0.2 of a mile. And those come in handy if you ever break down and have to report to somebody, like a tow truck driver, where you're located. Because if you broke down on 95 goes from Maine to Florida. How do they know what state you're in? So I would say if I broke down on Interstate 95, I'm in the state of Maine. I'm at mile marker 54.2. And they're going to be able to look at a map and be able to figure it out. Because a lot of times these highways, there is no green sign telling you the name of the town that's coming up. You don't have any signage at all. So you are totally lost. Now with phones, we could probably pinpoint what town we're in now. So that's helpful too. So let's talk about some of the more difficult things about being onto the highway. I'm going to get to merging. I know it says pass first, but I think we should probably talk about merging first. So I think I put this PowerPoint in the wrong order. So let's take a look at merging.
It can be a high anxiety situation. You're trying to enter the freeway. Cars on the freeway are whizzing by. You're trying to keep an eye on the cars in front of you. Drivers in the cars behind you are eager for their chance to merge. It can be chaotic, and you're the one at the gate.
Actually, a merge is probably one of your highest risk maneuvers that you do as a driver.
Dr. Terry Klein with Eastern Kentucky University is a leading authority on driving safety and an expert on traffic rules.
It's really a rather tricky maneuver because what we're asking you to do as a driver is pay attention to both the things happening in front of you, the things happening behind you, and the things happening 2 lanes to your left or 2 lanes to your right.
Dr. Klein says this complicates things because as human beings, we can really pay strict attention to only one thing at a time. So as tense as it may be, you've got to learn how to merge if you want to enter a freeway.
The bottom line is that you have to prepare for a merge sooner.
Dr. Klein says to prepare for a merge well before you're actually ready to merge. Identify a gap between cars on the freeway where you can merge. Then, continue increasing your speed until you reach the gap you selected. Dr. Klein says instead of increasing speed, drivers have a tendency to actually slow down before merging. A big mistake.
You have cars behind you coming up, they're trying to enter speed themselves, so you could cause a chain reaction type collision behind you as well.
Dr. Klein says drivers tend to minimize the dangers in merging, and that there are actually more crashes that happen during merging than during passing. Once on the freeway, adjust your speed to keep a cushion of space around your car.
The closer you get to a car around you, the more they drive you and the less you driving yourself. You become their puppet. They brake, you brake. They speed up, you speed up. They stop suddenly, you stop suddenly.
Finally, once you've merged and adjusted your speed, you probably will change lanes at some point. Some quick pointers. Look around you for large enough space to move into. Use your mirrors. Turn your head to look quickly to the side before changing lanes. Then make your lane change. Changing lanes, keeping space around your car, and merging. Each is a critical task in our driving experience.
By far, merging is the most difficult thing when we do our highway lesson. Once you're on the highway, maintaining position and speed, checking your mirrors, that's stuff we've done, every time that we've gone out on a roadway. Good speed control, good following distance, checking your mirrors. It's just normal driving. So really the hardest part is merging on. Now, when you have multiple lanes, making lane changes at high speeds, it's a totally different story. I guess I'll talk about passing because I'll go back here. Every once in a while, you'll be on a road. Now, 155 is a road that I take all of you on, and we do have passing zones. Now, it's not a highway, but it's a passing zone, so it's a broken line. Now, on a highway going in the same direction, we know that broken line is a white line. When you're on 155, because we have oncoming traffic coming towards us, we know that line is yellow. So we have to be careful. So it's hard to really gauge how fast is the car that's coming towards me. I want to get by the car that's, going too slow in front of me, but if I go around him into the other lane, I can see there's a car coming towards me in that other lane. Do I have enough time to move over and pass? That's the hardest thing. That's the thing that you've really got to work on. So let's take a look at how to pass safely.
Another common maneuver is passing in the lane of oncoming traffic. It's common, but it's not always safe and must be done cautiously.
It becomes a danger because of the judgment factors that we don't judge distance very well.
The problem is twofold. It's hard to tell how long it's going to take to accelerate to get past the car we're trying to pass. And it's hard to tell how close the car is in the oncoming lane and how fast that car is traveling towards you.
It's risky business because drivers have a hard time judging that dynamic movement.
If you do plan to pass, keep this in mind. An oncoming car or truck does not seem to be traveling as fast as it really is. Here's a good rule of thumb. If an oncoming car is far enough away that it does not seem to be moving at all, then it is generally far enough away for you to safely make your pass. But if you can see that oncoming car is moving, then it's a different story.
If you go out there to look and you see that car looks like it's moving towards you, you better tuck back in again because you're probably too close.
There are other times when it is not safe to pass. If your view is blocked by either a hill or a curve, don't pass. Assume there is an oncoming car or truck just out of sight. Passing requires extreme caution because of the threat of having a head-on collision.
When you talk about having a head-on collision, you're talking about doubling and tripling the forces, and maybe the forces even quadruple, depends on your speed and the nature of the car coming towards you.
Also, avoid passing at intersections. This includes intersecting roads, railroad crossings, even entrances to shopping centers. If you are on a two-lane road, pass only on the left. It is dangerous and usually illegal to pass on the right. The exception is when a car ahead of you signals to make a left turn. If the car in front of you is stopped to make a left-hand turn, never pass to his left. Instead, you may pass to his right on the shoulder. In any event, experts urge drivers to not take passing lightly. It's a common driving task that requires utmost caution. This is Jim Angelo.
So those are some key points for passing on a two-way roadway. Other things that you may find on a highway that you should be familiar with is understand that we talked about fog this week. Fog is going to be extremely dangerous when you're going at highway speeds. Now, first of all, you shouldn't be driving at regular highway speeds if it's really foggy. But what I want you to write down in your notes is that the reflectors that you find on the roadway will match the color of the line that it's next to. So when we're driving down a roadway on a one-way highway, like on the Spalding Route 16, the color to the right will be white and the color to the left will be yellow. So that's marking where you're at the edge of the pavement. So remember, when you get to those reflectors, you are leaving pavement. You're going to be hitting either guardrail or soft shoulder. In heavy fog, you may not be able to figure out where guardrails are. So write this down. The reflectors at a guardrail or anything that's immovable, at the beginning of the immovable object, it will be a red reflector. At the end of the guardrail, it will be a green reflector. Now, in some highways now, we've actually grinded out little grooves, which we call rumble strips. We have them to the left, we have them to the right, so in case your car is drifting. But the common problem with rumble strips is that if you are falling asleep, the minute you feel the car, shake a little bit or make that noise, you're going to jerk your hands and you're going to maybe jump into another lane or go off the edge of the road. It's very helpful for a person that is not maintaining good position. The roadway's telling you, you've got to move to the left or move to the right. Or if you're on your phone or doing something to the radio and you're drifting, it's going to tell you that, whoops, you're too far to the right, but you better fix it. The other thing that we should be familiar with is that not all roadways are free. So there's going to be Easy Pass, and that's going to take care of, it's like a debit card. You basically just put this module that's stuck to your windshield, and as you go over or underneath one of the Easy Passes, radars, it basically scans you like, a UPC code at a grocery store. So your car will be debited the amount that you have in your account as you go through. So that's Easy Pass, which is kind of cool. So here's what I was talking about. So there's a mile marker, there's Easy Pass, there's a rumble strip. Oh, by the way, remember, always stay under a green arrow. Never go where there's a red X, because there's nobody manning the toll booth. The only thing I mentioned here is that Easy Pass, going on a highway, you're going to be paying $1.50 to maybe $4 normally to use a highway. But this I want you to write down. Bridges cost a mint. Going over a bridge is $8-10, and in New York, look at here. The Chesapeake Bay Bridge jumped from to $4 from $2.50, and from $8 to $12. And I think it's even higher now going over the George Washington Bridge. I think it could be like $15 or $20, and that's one way. So can you imagine going to work and having to pay the toll both ways? I mean, you're going to be spending just $30, maybe on tolls and bridge tolls. That's crazy. On ramps, what you need to know is know your ramp. Keep up your speed while you're looking for a hole in traffic. Remember, do not stop unless necessary. Now, this is a key, and I want you to write this down to know this for the final. Okay. If you keep your speed at the end of the ramp, usually people will allow you to come in. Okay. So allow traffic to make room for you by keeping up your speed. Now, if you notice they're not helping you out, then you do have to slow down and try to find another opening, or maybe even stop. But I will tell you, we have more frustration with people, or students of mine. We have more frustration because we're not going fast enough, and people won't let us in because we're going too slow. So keep up your speed. Blended lanes, as you can see in the picture, we have a lot of highways, converging on one another. What a blended lane means is that there's a section of the road where some cars are getting off, so we call that an off-ramp. And then maybe there's a level of a highway that's coming down and circling down and joining that area where they're getting onto the highway. So that's a blended lane. So a blended lane, some cars are going slower to get off, some cars are going faster to get on. And that area of the roadway has to be shared. This is where you're blending. It's almost what we call a zipper, where one car goes, then the next car from the other road goes, and it alternates. Let's say road A, road B. So you just keep on letting cars go A, B, A, B, A, B. You alternate cars from those two roads. So getting on the highway, keep up your speed as you approach the yield sign. Check your rearview mirror first, then your side mirror, then check over your shoulder, and then signal. Try to remember this is so much like a lane change. So if you can do those 4 things in a lane change, you should be able to merge with some practice. But I will guarantee if you go to Dover for your license, they're going to definitely make you merge onto a highway. And a lot of people I know have been getting marked off on how they do it. Know your ramp when you leave the expressway. Use your directionals about 500 feet. That's about the last sign. Try not to slow down on the highway. Keep up your speed till you get your ramp. And then at the bottom of the ramp, know which way you want to go, left or right. If you go right, it's probably a yield sign. If you go left, it will always be a stop sign. So if you get off the ramp and you know which way you're going to go, if it's left, you better slow down a lot because it's going to be a stop. If you're going to go off to the right, maybe you can keep a little speed up because you know it's going to be a yield. What to do on the highway? Be alert. It's people that miss their exits, get too close to other cars. It's simple mistakes that get out of hand. Make sure that you know that you have enough room and time to pass safely. Keep a good following distance, so we want at least 4 seconds. Turn signals should be used on lane changes and leaving the highway. Keep your speed steady. I'd kind of go with the flow of traffic, get in one of the middle lanes. And don't stop unless you necessarily have to because of a driving emergency. And as we talked about fatigue, I find highway driving very boring. If I have to drive for like 4 or 5 hours and it's just on a highway, it is so boring. I'd much rather, even though it takes a little bit longer, I'd rather, go through some towns and, be able to see some things and stop and get a bite to eat and always know that there's gas stations around. But I know highways get you where you want to go a lot quicker. But boy, do they get tiring if you're 5 hours straight. Plus your back hurts and your legs stiffen up. So you may want to find a place to pull over and get out and stretch. This is someone that was following a person that did not strap down a mattress. So be very careful about who you're following. Understand that things can drop off. I think it was Zoe from Dover that we were driving today, and we saw someone that had a blowout. So you never know what you're going to find on the highway. So if it looks like someone's having a problem, try to stay away because it may become yours. Following distance, all this stuff I didn't put in. We've kind of talked about. Oh, let's talk about the traffic circle. I'm going to get right to it. Oh, here we go. Here's the Lee circle. Excuse me. The difference between a roundabout and a circle is really the speed that you're able to travel. Okay. So I believe it's a circle that is faster speed. So the Portsmouth circle is really faster than like the Durham roundabout, which is like 15. And when you're approaching it, it's like 25. So there is a slower speed. So the second paragraph, the biggest difference is the size of the circle. A roundabout is smaller, okay, with slower speeds in the inside. So it's a Lee roundabout, not a Lee circle. And then you've got the Portsmouth. Then you've got the Portsmouth one. I think I do have a clip of the Lee circle. So basically, as you can see, you have 2 lanes coming in, 1 lane going off to the right, 1 coming in from the left. If you want to go at least the first exit, second exit, you have to be in the right lane. If you want to go halfway to 3/4 all the way around, you have to be in the left lane. And what they're showing here, the difference between an intersection and a roundabout is that you get more movement of traffic. So you're going to get a greater amount of vehicles moving and getting to where they want to go more safely. But the thing that we're finding is that most people approach the circle way too fast. They make mistakes because they don't use signals, or people leave the circle without indicating, and they're getting sideswiped by cars. The other thing, too, is that realizing that large trucks in a circle have to basically cheat in somebody else's lane. So here they're showing a crash conflict point where one car wants to get in, one car wants to get out. They're not paying attention to one another with their speed and their distance to one another, and that's why they're going to have contact. And that's usually the worst place right there that they're showing you. So yield means go slow, look for an opening, and don't interfere with traffic. If you're interfering, then you're doing it the wrong way. Okay, so you do have arrows on the pavement. So this is like an off-ramp to the left. Off to the right is really a circle because you see that little circle thing area. So that's telling you can get out in 2 areas from the right lane. And if you're doing it from the left, you've got 3 options. Second exit, third exit, or all the way back to where you're at. So that is the Lee circle. Now, the one thing that we don't have here in New Hampshire, but we do have in Massachusetts, and I want you to write this down, so this is not in the state manual, this is not in the textbook, is that we have tunnels in Massachusetts. So when you enter a tunnel, there's a few things that I want you to think about. If it's during the day, like today, it was very hot, very sunny, people had sunglasses on. You're going into a tunnel, even though there are lights on underneath, it is still dark. You do not want a dark area with sunglasses. Always have your headlights on. It's not for you to, it is for you to see better, okay? Because it is getting dark. It's not for people to see you because it's all in one direction. Understand in Massachusetts that a tunnel isn't always, come in one way, leave on the opposite. It's a straight thoroughway. Sometimes you're going to have to take an exit in a tunnel, meaning you need to get to a different road in Boston. You're not going to come out through the tunnel. You're going to basically, go off to a different aspect of the tunnel, kind of an off-ramp to it. Use your mirrors a lot more because it gets pretty tight. Use your side mirror, see who's coming up on the left, who's coming up on the right. Know your speed, know your position because people are coming up beside you, all right? And you have to hold that position pretty well. Any movement to the left, to the right, you could be sideswiping another car. So on the way to see my daughter one day, my wife said that she would drive home so I could take a video. So I took out my phone, and here is 93, the Boston Tunnel. So notice the off-ramp, see, off to the right. So if you're in the furthest right lane, that's going to probably take you to Logan Airport, actually. So you do have guide signs in the tunnel. You do have recommendations of what your speed should be, basically telling you that there's going to be a bend. And notice with headlights on, and this is during the day too, so this helps a lot. It's pretty well lit. Here's another ramp to get off, okay, to get into another aspect of Boston. But I believe we were headed to Route 1, so I wanted to be in the middle lane so I could actually take the next left. So the next left is coming up in about another maybe half mile to a mile. The other thing about the picture that it's frozen right here, notice you don't have much of a breakdown lane to the left or to the right. So the question is, what would you do if you had a blowout? You got to change a tire. What would you do if your car just stalled and couldn't drive it anymore? Basically, what you want to do is to put your signal on to the right, move into the right lane, get over to as close as you can to those concrete barriers, put your hazard lights on, and if you have flares or triangles, put them out behind your vehicle to force people out of the right lane to go into the middle. But you do not want to stop in the middle of this middle lane. You do not want to stop in the middle of the right lane or the left lane. You want to get as far over, and you probably have 3 feet, I think, on the right-hand side. Left doesn't look like you got that much room. So hopefully you could go from the left lane, move all the way over to the right, because it's probably a little bit safer. Oh, that's it. All right, let's take a look at sharing the road with large trucks. These are the 3 groups. Actually, pedestrians should be included up there, so it should have been motorcycles, bikes, and pedestrians. But depending on where we drive, especially in the summertime, we're going to see probably a lot more traffic than we normally have. Not only is because COVID's being lifted, it's vacation time. People are going on vacation. Kids are out of school. So you're going to see more kids on bicycles, more people on motorcycles, and goods are trying to get to where they need to go. We've been a little bit behind in getting items to where they need to go. So we're going to focus on tractor trailers first. So let me kind of go through some points. Whoop. Here we go. First thing I want you to realize that tractor trailers, just by looking at them, we don't have to state the obvious. We know they're bigger than we are. But the thing that we tend to forget is that because of their length and their width and their height and their carrying cargo, their speed to pick up, to get up to highway speed takes them longer, and it also takes them longer to slow down and stop. So when you're driving around these vehicles, before you pull out in front, before you get behind or beside, you need to know what their capability is. Don't expect them to react just like a car, because they can't, all right? Here it says at 55, they need about 3 times the distance that a car needs to stop. And that's, if they're really doing a good job at it. Understand that they're going to always make wide right-hand turns, especially in the city. Okay, so if they swing into your lane into oncoming traffic, yeah, you should have picked that up. You've got to understand that's what they do. They're not picking on you. They're not a bad driver. This is just what the vehicle needs to do in order to get in to that right-hand lane. Now, slowing, we already mentioned they start out slower. They have so many gears to go through. You know, we talked about manual transmission being a 3, 4, 5 speed. I believe that some of these tractor trailers have upward of 18 plus gears to go through, shifting. Can you imagine shifting just 18 times to get your car up to a speed that is necessary to be out there on the roadway? Now, I want you to write down this term and know this for the final. It's called no zone. A no zone is your blind spot next to a tractor trailer, and there are blind spots to the front, left, right, and rear. So they're all around, depending, the size of the vehicle and whether it's a pedestrian or not. But a tractor trailer has huge blind spots. Now, what a no zone means, so write this down. A no zone means is do not travel in that area for any length of time, meaning 5 to 10 seconds would be max to be in those areas. So if you know that you're in the blind spot, what they're basically saying is don't travel there. Get out of it. Go forward, go backwards. Move to the right, move more to the left. But don't stay in the blind spot. That is a no-zone traveling area. Okay? So let's talk about some characteristics of trucks. And a tractor trailer company provided driver's ed teachers with this training video about dealing with semis.
Hello, my name is Ralph Garcia, and I'm a professional truck driver with 37 years experience on the road with 3.5 million miles of safe driving. Today, you're going to have the opportunity to hear firsthand from professional truck drivers how to maneuver around a truck safely. First of all, let's go over some tips before we get started. Never cut in front of a truck. Give us enough room. Second, stay out of the blind spots around a truck. Third, have enough cushion behind us. Don't follow too closely so you have enough time to stop. Also, trucks make wide right turns. Give us enough space to do those turns. And if you break down on the side of the road, make sure you get far enough off the road that you're safe. And last but not least, distracted driving. Don't text and drive. Stay off that phone. Let's get started, and we're going to hear from our drivers.
Hey, I'm Alan Boyd. I've been driving trucks professionally for 35 years. I know I don't look that old, right? Scratch that, don't answer. What I've learned is the right side of this truck is the largest blind spot we have. This blind spot can actually go over 3 lanes wide. I can lose a whole tractor and trailer. So it's very important when you get in this position to get yourself out as quickly as you can. Did you know that 35% of all car-truck related accidents, the car is in the truck driver's blind spot? Well, it's true. And how do you know that you're in the blind spot? In this position, it's very important to make sure you can see that driver's smiling face in the mirror. If you can't see that truck driver's smiling face in the mirror, he can't see you. Remember, when that truck moves over to the left lane to let you off a ramp, that brings you out into this position, and that's okay. Make sure you slow down a little bit, allow the truck time to get back in front of you. That allows everybody to pass on the left where it's a lot safer. Remember to make good decisions when you drive.
Hi, I'm Alfonso Lewis. I've been a professional truck driver for 28 years, have 1.4 million safe driving miles. And today I want to talk to you about the rear blind spot of a tractor trailer. First of all, I want to tell you where I do not want you. I don't want you tailgating me. You know why? If I make a sudden stop, guess where you may end up? It's right here. I don't want you there. One other thing, I'm a big guy and I drive a pretty big truck. If there's an object in the road, I can straddle it. And if I straddle it and it comes out and you don't see it, you will not have time to react. Think about that object as an alligator. You don't want that alligator to bite you. So I want you 20 car lengths behind me where I can see you. If you can see my mirror, you're in a safe spot where I can see you and you can see me. And that's where I want you at.
Hello, my name's Don Biggerstaff. I'm a professional truck driver. I've been in the industry for 37 years and have accumulated 1.4 million safe driving miles. And I'm here today to tell you about one of the blind spots that we have on the truck. The left side, the driver's side. We see you best out of this side from our vantage point in the truck. And this is the side that we want you to pass us on. But I need to make it clear, we do have a small blind spot located about where this car is, right behind the driver's seat in the truck. If you're in this position, we could lose you in our mirrors and not see you. So if you find yourself in this spot beside the truck, we want you to safely maneuver on around us. That keeps us safer and you safer. And really, that's what the Share the Road program is all about.
This is the front end of the truck. The worst thing you could do is cut in front of a truck. Rule of thumb, look in your rearview mirror, and when you can see the whole truck in that mirror, that's the time to come over. That usually puts you 10 car lengths in front of our vehicle. Your car usually weighs 4,000 pounds, and fully loaded, this semi could weigh up to 80,000 pounds. And going 60 miles an hour, it could take the length of a football field and 2 end zones to stop.
So what you're telling me, Ralph, then is that if I'm driving a 4,000 pound car, that'd be 20 times my weight.
That's right.
That'd be like a 200 pound wrestler wrestling a man weighing 4,000 pounds.
Exactly, kind of like me wrestling you.
As a professional driver, I use every means possible to see out of my vehicle. Of course, I don't have the luxury of looking in a rearview mirror like you do in a car, or throwing my arm over the seat and looking at the back windshield. I have to use the tools that's been given me, my windshields and my mirrors, to see what I need to see. That's why this front windshield is so important. It's like my big screen television. It allows me to see what's going on out in front of me. 2 other important tools that I have are my mirrors on each side, outside of the truck. I have my right mirror, which allows me to see a narrow path down the right side of my trailer. However, not 2, 3, and 4 lanes over. The mirror on my left-hand side, with head movement, I can see better out of that one, which is the side we want you to pass us on. No matter what I'm doing, I have to focus on my driving. And that's what we want you to do. Because if we all stay focused on the highway, it'll be a much safer place for all of us.
Distracted driving is just as dangerous as drunk driving. Distractions in your car could be eating, drinking, could be talking to someone, and most common ones are on your phone or texting. Did you know if you travel 60 miles per hour for 6 seconds distracted, that you have actually went the length of a football field? What we want you to do is concentrate on your job, and that's driving.
You know, we had a lot of fun doing this video, and I hope you got the understanding that we're very proud of our record and we're very passionate about safety. And we've interjected some humor to make it fun. However, when you're driving, there is one place that you absolutely must keep your focus, and that's in a construction zone. You know, a construction zone is simply a temporary inconvenience for a major improvement. You know, those guys that are working on that road are working on that road for one reason, and that's to make the highway safer. There's a couple things you need to remember when you're going into a construction zone. Number one, always obey the speed limit. That speed limit is set in place for everybody's safety. Also, the solid white lines are there so that nobody crosses that solid white line. It's very important never to tailgate, and especially not in a construction zone. Because in construction zones, things happen quickly. And the last thing you want is to run into the back of somebody because something happened in front of them. Remember, every one of those construction workers are mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, and they all want the same thing that you and I do. And no matter who you are, whether you drive a truck, drive a car, or work in that construction zone, everybody's goal is to make the most important trip, the trip home, safely.
I always like to show a video that kind of goes over what we're discussing, because sometimes people learn more from a visual concept than just talking about a concept. So it is important. And like I said, we're going over insurance tonight, driving on the highway, and now sharing the road. There's going to be at least 6 or 7, maybe 8 questions on the final on just tonight's class. So hopefully people are taking notes, because like I said, we're going through this pretty quick. So no zone, you definitely need to know. So as I said earlier, and you saw in the video, don't stay in that area any longer than you need. So you've got to get used to speeding up, slowing down. Now, when you're on a multi-lane highway, it's difficult because that's how they get to where they're going. So you may think, oh, the second of 4 lanes is the best lane, or the third lane is the best lane. You never know, because some trucks are going to be very comfortable being in those 2 lanes. So you may have to move over to the far right lane, or maybe you may have to pass someone in the far left lane and come back to the third lane. So constantly look at your mirror, look what's coming up in front of you. Are they going the same speed that you are? Is there a tractor trailer that's coming up? Are you going to get boxed in? Because some people get claustrophobic on a highway, meaning they've got a vehicle, a large vehicle to the left, a large vehicle to the right, and they just start to freak out. I actually had a student from the last class that got so nervous going over the bridge because of all the heavy traffic that he had to pull over, and I had to drive the vehicle. I had to drive the vehicle over the bridge and bring it back over in towards Madbury, Durham, because he was having a panic attack. And unfortunately, for him, that's something he's going to have to overcome. But luckily, we dealt with the situation the best way that we possibly can. But think about this. What are you going to do when you start driving on a highway and you get in a situation that you don't feel comfortable with? You've got to look for a technique or an area that you can pull over to a better lane or pull off to the side of the road and know how to deal with the stress and the anxiety of being on a highway. So that is the no zones that we have to stay away from. All right, the next group of people that we find on the road that we're going to have to contend with on most regular basis in the summer are motorcycles. Now, motorcycles go a lot faster than cars, for the most part, because they're lighter and they're a lot quicker off the get-go from the stop. But they're not protected like a car. And a lot of people on motorcycles don't carry or don't wear leathers, chaps or coats. They don't have helmets. They don't have gloves. So they're kind of at a disadvantage if they get knocked off the bike. So we have to do everything that we can as a driver to help protect them. Okay, even if they're making a mistake. Now, as I said, they go very fast. Is there a reason why someone in New Hampshire on a motorcycle is going 185? No. Okay, just that he wants to have that feeling, that rush, that adrenaline rush of going that fast. But can you believe that that is what they clocked him at, 185 miles per hour? He would be roadkill if he hit a pothole, if something came out in front of him, if he missed anything, if he had a mechanical problem. People don't think, okay? Luckily, they were able to nab him and give him a ticket, and I don't think he's going to be driving for a while. I bet you this summer he's held on a $1,000 cash bail. I didn't put the lane splitting video in. I don't know why I didn't put it in. Maybe I'll try to show it tomorrow. I don't think I have it on my desktop right here. Sometimes I don't see it. All right, I'll try to find it tomorrow. But I was going to show you some common mistakes of motorcycle riders on the road. Okay, let's talk about some of their issues, some of their problems. First of all, we can't blame just motorcycles. It's cars too. So it's about equal 50-50 when it comes to crashes, who's at fault. But they do have the same rights and responsibilities. Motorcycles, bicycles are supposed to come to complete stops. They are supposed to yield correctly, handle traffic, not pass on the breakdown lane because they're small. They usually do that a lot. So they kind of bend the rules a lot more than automobile drivers do. But remember, they're very small. They can't be seen too easy. So this is why in the summertime, you may want to take an extra second or two at a stop sign to look to see, is that single light a motorcycle, or is it someone that's walking with a headlamp or something? So get a good view at a stop sign to understand what is coming towards you. You can't judge their speed very well either. So you see them, but really, how fast are they coming? Are they coming really quick, or I could probably pull out, or maybe I should stop? So you have to basically know what to do. The other thing, too, is side by side with a motorcycle on a roadway, the motorcycle is always going to stop a lot sooner than a car. They're lighter. They have better control of front and rear brake. So don't think stopping is going to be the same. It's not. Left turns, I want you to write down and know this for the final. Most of the time when cars make a mistake with a motorcycle, it's because they don't see them, and they start to make a left turn, and the motorcycle gets hit as you're making your left-hand turn. Remember, on all left turns, and we've got them at most intersections now, a white sign that says anybody turning left on a green light, a green circle light, must yield to oncoming traffic. That is including motorcycles. But the problem is, as we just said in the last slide, we just don't see them. We don't judge their speed correctly. We think, oh, we can do this. So that is the problem. Now, this is kind of cool. We're going to see this a little bit later about a motorcycle school that we have here in New Hampshire. I don't have a video from them. I got one from Pennsylvania. But there's actually a person that is like me, he's a driving instructor for a motorcycle. And no one's going to sit in the back of a motorcycle and instruct you. That's kind of crazy. So what he does is he drives alongside a new student, and he has a radio receiver where he talks back and forth with the rider in front of him, and he tells him what to do and why he should be doing it. So that's how they teach a motorcycle how to make, or watch out for people left turns. Let me show you. It makes more sense if I showed it to you.
Okay, let's get in the left lane. So let this truck go ahead.
So he always wants to be to the
leave
left
lots of room
of his lane so people can, the truck driver can see him in the side view mirror. See how he's more towards the yellow line than the white line?
Okay, good. So we got a truck up ahead. Okay, shoulder check, good. Moving away. And then shoulder check back.
So when he thinks a car's turning left, he goes over to the furthest point to give him a little extra room. So he travels to the left so the truck can see him, so he can see traffic.
Yes.
When
That
he gets
move
up
will
to the
save your
traffic
life.
light, he's going to move back over to the right. Now watch. Okay, now he's going to come up to the traffic light. When they go through, he'll move over towards the white line. Because right now, oncoming traffic doesn't probably see him behind the
So
truck.
get ready to do it again.
So you stay back a distance, you move to the right.
Excellent.
See, I thought that was pretty cool. I think that's a cool way of doing it, teaching that way. Remember with motorcycles, they manually have to turn off their turn signals. So you really need to understand, are they actually turning or did they just leave it on? Following distance should be a little bit more, but at least to 3 seconds, if not more. Lane usage, constantly changing lanes. Don't move next to them. Don't crowd them. A lot of times if they're moving from side to side, it's because there's a pothole or there's something that they just don't want to hit. Bad weather is going to be a problem. As we said when we talked about bad weather, motorcycle riders will go right up to wintertime. And some of them, if long as the road is plowed and they've got some dry pavement, they'll still drive in the middle of January and February. But basically wind, road surface, railroad crossings, metal bridges, groove pavement, all these situations will be more of a problem for a motorcyclist than it will be for you. So back off a little bit when you see these situations and give them a little bit of time to handle it. So they may change their speed, go slower, may hit some of these things more of at an angle or change their position. The motorcycle safety course, I think, is a great experience. We have 2 courses offered here in New Hampshire. We have the novice, and then we have the experienced course. There's a phone number in your manual if you want to ever get more information. Basically, you will be exempt from taking the state motorcycle test if you take this course. So once you complete it, you get to go to the DMV, and they're just going to stamp your operator's license. And you usually get an operator's license before you get a motorcycle license, because once you understand the rules of the road, what we're going over right now, and pass the written test and the eye test, really it just comes down now to maneuvering the vehicle. So do you have good balance? Can you control the bike at certain speeds? Can you stop it? Things like that. They still have to give you some type of a physical driving test, but the motorcycle course takes care of that. They'll check off on it, give you the completion paperwork, like I'm giving you completion paperwork, saying that you've done driver's ed and done all these different things in driving. So it's kind of cool. Now, like I said, I don't have New Hampshire. They didn't do a video in New Hampshire, but I found that Pennsylvania, which is kind of like what we have here, someone videotaped a promo for their motorcycle course, and I came across it and I really liked it. So I'm going to show you what a motorcycle course looks like.
We really had fun taking the class. It was something that my husband and I did together, which made it even more special.
I thought, boy, this is going to be, why am I going to go do this? I've been riding so long, there's nothing I can, what are they going to teach me or what are they going to show me? And I was very shocked when I actually took it, and I learned quite a bit from that.
We got the club together and filled up a class, and, in varying level of experience from people who've been riding 30 and 40 years. And every one of them, when we got done with the class, was worthwhile.
For my family, the very first step of getting into motorcycling was signing up for the motorcycle safety course. Because even before we went out to invest money in buying a motorcycle, it was important for us to learn the intricacies of riding the bike, and you certainly want to be prepared for the road risks.
Since taking that course and learning at least that one technique alone, it's probably saved my life at least 15 times.
I think that there's just as much value in the classroom as there was as physically being on the bike. So when you go out and you get on the bike, all that mental stuff is already in there.
The instructors were very friendly, and they didn't make you feel uncomfortable or weird that you hadn't ridden before. They just eased you right into it. They have you just kind of walking the bikes along as they're on, and you start going around in circles, then you progress into weaving in and out between cones.
And the instructor stood in front of the cones, and at the last moment, he would point left or right, and you had to do like an evasive move. It was just that last split second which way to turn. And if you make a mistake, then you learn from it.
He actually threw it was a piece of block on the ground, like a 2x4, and you actually, instead of going around it, go right through it. It just teaches you that if something's on the road and you're going like 55, 60, there's no sense of trying to go around it. You can't, because you ain't gonna have time to look left and right. Just go right straight through it.
You're constantly scanning ahead, and that's one of the things they teach you in the course. You are looking at the car in front of you, but you're actually looking further down. You're watching those intersections on your side. And these are some of the things that I never thought about, but the course talked about.
And all of a sudden, I start pulling around the curve, and another guy comes straight over, and if I would not have been aware, and again, this came from the course of being aware of everything that's happening around you, and I was able to stop. But if I'd have kept going, I would probably be a wood ornament at this point.
The maneuvering technique I did learn from the course did help me last year with the accident that I was in, that someone pulled out in front of me. And I was able to maneuver the bike
to get around mostly, but the bike did clip the bumper a little bit. But still, I was able to get out unscratched and still walk away.
We were going through a small town, going 30 miles an hour, put my signal on to slow down, to stop, and the bike behind me slammed into me. The first thing I felt was this jerk, and then I heard the instructor's voice saying, "Hold on, keep the front tires straight. Slowly apply your brakes, both the front and the rear brakes slowly, and bring the bike to a slow stop." And that's exactly what happened.
You think you know about bikes, but you do not know about bikes until you take the safety course. You do not know about all the different things that can come at you. You don't pay attention to that when you're just riding without the knowledge. So it can definitely save your life. It's a lifetime lesson that costs nothing.
Doesn't that look like a great course to take? I highly recommend it. The nice thing, too, is that they provide the bike for you, so you don't have to buy your own bike and bring it there. So it's something that you may want to do in the future, but you've got some spare time. You go, I think I want my motorcycle license. It's usually a weekend. It's like a Friday night for 4 hours, and then Saturday, or Saturday morning session, then an afternoon session. It's not a real lengthy class, so I would check it out. And the thing to remember, too, is you do not need that if you want a moped. A moped, anything under 35 miles per hour, that's capable of going 35 miles per hour or under, then you can just drive on your operator's license. You do not need to get a endorsement or a license for a motorcycle. Now, if you say, well, I don't want to take the course, but I still want my motorcycle license, then what you would do is that you would make out an application, send it to the state. They would give you a what they call an endorsement, like a permit, that allows you to practice drive on back roads and parking lots to get accustomed to the bike and get certain skills. And then they're going to require you to come down to the DMV parking lot and show that you can stop it, turn it, you know, if it starts to lean, or, you know, can you handle it and stuff like that. So you still have to take a test. Bicycle safety. Let's talk about pedal bikes, because we see a lot of them on the road now because of the nice weather. When passing a bike, every driver of a vehicle shall exercise due care by leaving reasonable and prudent distance between the bike and the vehicle. Now, this is what I want you to remember for your final. The minimum distance is 3 feet. Okay, so you have to at least go by a bike, giving them at least 3 feet. Now, if the speed limit is higher than 30, let's say 40 or 50, you've got to give an additional foot for every 10 miles per hour. So 4 feet at 40, 5 feet at 50. Now, here comes a situation. You're at the top of a hill or around a corner, and you don't want to go 4 or 5 feet around them. You're afraid of what's over the hill or just around the corner. Then what you must do is wait. You must wait till you know that there's opportunity before you pass the bicyclist. You do not want to be by the bike at the same time an oncoming car is coming, because you've got two problems that you're handling and you're in the middle of both. So we call that separating hazards or separating problems. Sometimes, if there is no chance to wait, what you've got to do is what we call compromise. Try to give the bike at least 3 feet, give the oncoming car at least 3 to 4 feet, and just hope for the best. Bicycles need to obey the same rules as other drivers. They must signal their right turns, left turns, and stops. So be familiar with hand signals. If a bike is, or bicyclists are riding two abreast, keep within a single lane. If they're holding up traffic, don't ride on a sidewalk. That's illegal. Can't do that. Never grab onto a vehicle that's moving. You've got to yield to pedestrians just like an automobile driver does. And never carry passengers unless there's an attached seat that will hold two people. If you're carrying anything, make sure it doesn't interfere with control of the bicycle, and always go in the same direction as other vehicles. So never go in towards cars. Remember, the way I tell students to remember it is anything with wheels, bicycles, skateboarders, rollerbladers, okay, anything with wheels goes in the same direction as cars. Wheels go on the right-hand side of the road. If you're running, walking, you're on the left side of the road. These are all things that you need. Reflectors, brakes strong enough to hold your vehicle. Lights at night. You got to stop if a police officer wants to speak to you and look at the bike. That's kind of ridiculous. I don't think they ever do that. But they will make sure you have protective head gear, because I've had students tell me that they got stopped when they were 14 or 15. So under 16. So most of you are just cresting that threshold of 16 where it doesn't become necessary. I think after hopefully taking this class, you know why it's so important to have helmets. So make sure that even if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, throughout life, if you're on a bicycle, protective head equipment is important. Do need to know this for the final. This is a question that the state loves to ask, because this is something people will kind of gloss over. Why does it pertain to me? Well, it's in the manual, so you got to know it. A bicycle has to wear at least one item that's reflective when it's the same hours that headlights are on. So a half hour after sunset to a half hour before sunrise, you got to make sure that you have a vest, jacket, helmet strip when you're driving during these periods of the day. Okay, if it's middle of the day at around noontime, you could be, in your swim shorts and a t-shirt, and you're fine. But as it gets darker, you've got to illuminate more than just what you have for reflectors on your bicycle. Pedestrian safety. I think we know pedestrians have the right of way in a crosswalk, crossing an alley, driveway. Look out for people that are blind. We know white cane. I think I pointed it out to someone earlier this week that I saw a blind person in Dover walking. I could see the white cane and the red tip. Sometimes there will be they'll be with a guide dog, and they'll have a harness and walking down the road. What I want you to know here is the very last part of this paragraph. It says, a person who is blind listens to hear that the vehicle has stopped moving before proceeding. So if you're at a crosswalk or a stop sign or a traffic light or something like that, then make sure that the blind person knows that you're there. Being in a hybrid like I am, it's very hard because the engine turns off. So stay back a little bit, because usually when you let go of the brake, the engine kicks in again. So then the guide dog knows that you're there. But if you're just stopped, it really has a hard time knowing. Pedestrians should use crosswalks. They should look both directions before crossing. Walk on the left side facing traffic. Always obey the walk, do not walk signal. At night, as we said before, having reflective material, but also carry a light, something that will make you stick out. And then you should never, ever walk on an interstate or a limited access highway. Joggers, children, animals, watch out for certain locations, for certain times. They're lighting off fireworks outside. I don't know if you can hear that or not. Now my dog's barking, so I apologize. Joggers may have headphones on, not paying attention, so be aware of them. So let's just deal with pedestrians real quick.
Hi, I'm Michelle Yeoh. As an actress, I've been in many dangerous situations on screen, but I always get to walk away. In real life, though, most people don't. So when you're walking near traffic, follow these safe steps and help save lives. Drivers and pedestrians share the responsibility of keeping themselves and others safe. Your eyes and ears are your best safety tools. Avoid using electronic devices that distract your attention. Stay on sidewalks. If there is no footpath, walk on the edge of the road facing oncoming traffic. At a road crossing, stop, look both ways, listen, and then cross. We all have a role in road safety. Follow these safe steps and play your part. For more road safety advice, visit safesteps.com.
So just a quick commercial of some safety tips. I usually spend a little bit more time on pedestrian traffic, but we are pressed for time. The last thing I want to mention tonight before I let you go is that in every single state there is something called the move over law. And I think I had someone, I'm trying to remember who I had. I think it was Zoe Seelig. But we were driving on Route 4 today and we had an ambulance come. A move over law means that when an emergency vehicle is approaching or coming towards you, you need to get it as far away from it as you possibly can. And that is a law in every single state. And technically you should, well, we're talking about stop vehicles here. You can, of course, go by them, but you want to be in the furthest lane. But if you do have an emergency vehicle that's moving, so I'm going to break this down into two things, moving and stopped. So moving, you need to pull over to the side and stop if it's coming behind you. If it's approaching you from the opposite direction, just move over to the side and go slowly. Be careful of cars that may be passing you after the emergency vehicle goes by. But when a police officer is giving someone a ticket or there's been a crash, they're going to be there for a while. You need to give that area of the road clear access to get other vehicles there or to work around whatever they're doing. So moving over means to get over to the furthest point that you possibly can safely. Now, this video, if you look real closely, is going to show a police officer that's giving a ticket, and he's going to get hit.
Every year, thousands of law enforcement officers are injured or killed by passing vehicles on our nation's roads and highways. These tragedies don't have to happen. Whenever an emergency vehicle has its lights on, move over away from the emergency vehicle. If you can't change lanes because of traffic, or if you're traveling on a 2-lane road, slow down at least 20 miles per hour below the posted speed limit.
Help protect the officers who protect you. Please move over, and if you can't, then slow down. It's the law.
So some of the points that they want you to do is reduce your speed as you move over. If they're going to hold up traffic, obey the directions that the authorized person that's directing traffic. So are they telling you to stop or go slow? Are they using any type of hand signals or signs telling you what to do? So obey whatever they're holding. Vacate any lane wholly, which means go from the right lane to the left lane. If it's partially blocked, then that means, get over as far as you possibly can. So give a wide berth without endangering oncoming traffic, people, or emergency vehicles. So that got me to right where I wanted you to be. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. So tomorrow's topic will be distracted driving. As I said, we're not going to finish up tomorrow like I had posted many, many months ago. This class was supposed to end tomorrow, but because I added some more students, this state required me to go into the next week for teaching class. So I figured I'd finish up content tomorrow and then give the rest of the class what we got left for time to be the final. So the final will be next Tuesday. I'll talk more about that tomorrow, but tomorrow is distracted driving. So what I'd like you to do tonight is to go online like we did with road rage, and I want you to find an article about distracted driving. Okay, so it shouldn't be too hard. I want you to read it. I want you to give me a reaction to what happened. I want you to basically explain to me what could have been done differently. So let me get out of here. I turned off all my lights, so it's kind of dark right now. So I want you to find an article on distracted driving, and I want you to give me a paragraph or two of what could have been done differently. Could the person have used a directional? Could they have kept up their speed? Could they have kept inside their car and never gotten out? So we're looking at how do we resolve situations that have gotten, no, it's distracted driving. That's what I'm talking about, road rage. So what we're looking for is with distracted driving, what could they have done? Put their phone away, not gotten out of the car to, combat the person. Because distracted driving, people get really out of hand. They get really, really angry. So we're going to find out what people are doing and how bad are the crashes where people are distracted and how could they tell that they were distracted. For those of you that didn't bring the textbook, like I said, I'll be there tomorrow, right after school. So right around, tomorrow, I don't know if I'm going to be there tomorrow.